Detailed instructions for sponsoring spouses, children, and parents from Vietnam to the U.S. Sponsoring relatives from Vietnam to the U.S. involves many steps, depending on the family relationship and the requirements of each visa type. Below are detailed instructions and processing times for sponsoring spouses, children, and parents. Sponsoring a spouse from Vietnam to the U.S. 1. Procedures for sponsoring a spouse from Vietnam to the U.S. Visa type R1 for spouses who have been married for more than 2 years, and CR1 for spouses who have been married for less than 2 years. Step 1. Submit I-130 petition. The sponsor, U.S. citizen or permanent resident, submits I-130 and I-138 petitions to the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS. Must provide documents proving the legal marriage relationship. Processing time, 7 to 12 months depending on the volume of USCIS applications. Step 2. Submit the application to the National Visa Center, NVC. After USCIS approves the I-130 application, the application will be sent to the NVC. Here, the financial records and other documents will be reviewed. Processing time at NVC, about 3 to 6 months. Step 3. Interview at the U.S. Consulate. The sponsored person attends the interview at the U.S. Consulate in Vietnam. They need to bring the original documents and other necessary papers. Interview waiting time, 1 to 2 months from the date of appointment. Step 4. Receive visa and go to the U.S. If the interview is successful, the immigrant visa will be issued, allowing the spouse to go to the U.S. and receive a green card. Visa issuance time, 1 to 2 weeks after the interview. 2. Procedures for sponsoring children from Vietnam to the U.S. Sponsoring children from Vietnam to the U.S. Visa type IR2 for children under 21 years old, and F2A for children under 21 years old of permanent residence. Step 1. Submit I-130 petition. The sponsor files an I-130 petition for the child. The sponsor must provide a birth certificate and documents proving the legal family relationship. Processing time, 6 to 12 months for U.S. citizens and 1 to 2 years for permanent residents. Step 2. Send the file to the National Visa Center, NVC. After USCIS approves, the file will be sent to the NVC for processing of finances and other documents. Processing time at NVC, 3 to 6 months. Step 3. Interview at the U.S. Consulate. The sponsored child will be interviewed at the U.S. Consulate, where they will need to provide original documents. Interview waiting time, 1 to 2 months. Step 4. Receive visa and go to the U.S. After a successful interview, a visa will be issued, allowing the child to enter the U.S. and receive a green card. Visa issuance time, 1 to 2 weeks after the interview. 3. Procedures for sponsoring parents from Vietnam to the U.S. Visa type IR5 for parents of U.S. citizens. Step 1. Submit I-130 petition. U.S. citizens submit I-130 petitions for their parents and provide birth certificates to prove blood relationship. Processing time, 7 to 12 months. Step 2. Submit the application to the National Visa Center, NVC. After USCIS approves, the application will be sent to the NVC to review financial documents and request additional documents. Processing time at NVC, 3 to 6 months. Step 3. Interview at the U.S. Consulate. Parents will be interviewed at the U.S. Consulate in Vietnam and provide all original documents. Interview waiting time, 1 to 2 months. Step 4. Receive visa and go to the U.S. An immigrant visa will be issued after a successful interview, allowing parents to enter the U.S. and receive a green card. Visa issuance time, 1 to 2 weeks after the interview. Summary. The process of sponsoring spouses, children, and parents from Vietnam to the U.S. requires careful preparation and waiting time. Processing time may vary depending on the type of visa and the specific situation of the application. Ensuring that all necessary documents are completed and following the process will help the sponsorship process be more successful.